Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Out on the Road. Today we're going to be taking a ride on Suzuki's 2026 GSX-8R. This is a middleweight powered sport bike from Suzuki out of Hamamatsu, Japan. It's powered by a 776cc parallel twin engine, liquid cooled dual camshafts with an 8-valve cylinder head. This engine is good for right around 70 horsepower and upwards of 50 pound-feet of torque. It drinks from a 3.7 gallon fuel tank and with a full tank of gas weighs 452 pounds. Now, we made a mistake early in the episode. We said this bike gets 36 miles per gallon. It actually gets upwards of 40. We've been measuring 41 miles per gallon, which gives you a range of upwards of 120 miles based on the capacity of its 3.7 gallon capacity tank. All right, enough talking about this 2026 GSX-8R. Let's swing a leg over it and tell you what it's like to ride.
This episode is supported by Alpine Stars and its Troop Air Mesh Jacket. The Troop Air Mesh Jacket is our favorite summertime riding jacket that's perfect for hot weather riding. It includes CE certified level 1 armor that's removable on the shoulders and elbows, and you can insert a back protector if you want to. This jacket does a great job of flowing air, looks super cool, and retails for $289 with a 1-year warranty, and is available now at speedaddicts.com. Now back to the episode.
All right, everyone, there it is, Suzuki's 2026 GSX-8R. What a nice looking bike. I love this white and blue colorway that it has. It really has a nice, pleasing look to it. Inverted fork radial brakes. We have that low slung exhaust that makes it look so racy, and this trellis style subframe, which makes it kind of feel super bike-ish. BMW uses a trellis subframe now, so does KTM and a bunch of other bikes, and it gives it that super bike look. The only thing we would do is we would put a Yoshimura V2 fender eliminator kit on this bike and clean up that tail section. But then you'd have to do something with these tail lights because they're integrated into that under fender, which is kind of crazy. It would have been cool if Suzuki would have put those lights up here. But that is that. Why don't we swing a leg over this thing and tell you what it's like to ride. All right, let's flip on the ignition key, and that splash screen comes to life. Suzuki's Easy Start, you press the button and the engine fires. What we mean by that is you just tap it once and it automatically engages until the engine fires. Suzuki also has its low RPM assist, so you can just let the clutch out without even having to use the throttle and the bike will launch. That's a really nice feature. Suzuki's had that feature on a lot of its motorcycles for years, and it rolls on with the 8R. Right away, sitting on this motorcycle, I love the ergonomics of this bike. It is crazy comfortable. The handlebar is nice and upright, and the seat is nice and wide. It's a very, very comfortable seat. Suzuki always does a fantastic job with its motorcycle seats. In fact, of all the manufacturers out there, the one that gets it right consistently with the comfort on the seats is Suzuki. Good job. So a very upright riding position, especially for a sport bike, but that just makes miles melt away with ease on this 8R. The only caveat is this windscreen is way, way short. We're 6 foot tall, 205 pounds, and you are definitely in the elements with this windscreen. It's kind of a shame because this front fairing is nice and broad. It actually does a really good job of blocking the wind, but the windscreen is so short that you get blasted at the chest and head level. If this was our bike, the first modification we would do is fit a taller windscreen. That would pay big dividends when you're out on the highway. Now, I like the foot pegs on this motorcycle. They're neither too high nor too low. And again, we're a little bit tall, but we don't feel cramped on this bike. Now, this motorcycle is powered by a 776cc parallel twin engine, and this engine is just an absolute hoot. It has a ton of torque. It has just the right amount of vibration to make motorcycle riding fun, but not too much vibration to make you think that when the engine was engineered that the vibration was just a second thought. It's a very well calibrated engine, and the general dynamic, the power pulses of the engine feel very similar to Suzuki's SV650, which was a 90-degree V-twin power naked bike many years ago. I think Suzuki still makes it, but that engine platform, even though it was overhauled many, many years ago, is still a very old engine architecture. So it has that pleasing V-twin feel, but in a very compact parallel twin fashion. This bike puts out just over 70 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque, which is a little bit more than Yamaha's YZF R7 for reference. Now, with a full 3.7 gallons of fuel, this motorcycle weighs 452 pounds. Not the lightest bike on the road, but with the 17-inch wheels turning, you'd be amazed how agile this bike is. This bike feels way lighter than its curb weight would imply. We've been averaging right at 40.5 miles per gallon, nearly 41 miles per gallon. So this engine's a little thirsty. To be fair, we always ride at a pretty zippy clip. If you keep speeds under the posted speed limit and short shift this bike, you can get nearly 50 miles per gallon. But if you ride like a wild person like we do, you're gonna get 41 miles per gallon. So just something to be aware of. Of course, this bike has a 6-speed transmission with a super slick shifting electronic quick shifter. I love this quick shifter. It rows up and down through the 6-speed gearbox really well. Allows you to upshift and downshift without having to use the clutch, but when it's time to use that clutch, that cable actuated clutch has a really nice pull. The pull has some pull to it. It's not wimpy, but we like that. We like well-weighted cable actuated clutches, and this AR does not disappoint in that factor. Wow, I can't believe how maneuverable this 450 pound AR is. Now this thing rolls on Showa inverted fork and a Showa linkage equipped shock. There's no spring preload or damping adjustment aside from the preload collar on the shock, but the suspension calibration on this bike is just outstanding. It soaks up the bumps and rides over the rough stuff so well, yet it still has a decent sporting aptitude. It's certainly not the most sporty bike and not quite as sporty feeling as the R7 for reference, but just the way it goes over the bumps, just the extra excellent ride quality that this bike has for a sport bike is just crazy. I remember when we tested this bike in 2024 during its debut, we said that this bike probably has some of the best OE suspension calibration of any bike we've tested in forever, and that rings true. The OE damping configuration on this bike is just outstanding. Still has decently good road holding, but just the absolute awesome bump absorption properties of this bike is just fantastic. Of course, these triple disc hydraulic brakes, they have plenty of power to slow things down. I like the feel of the bike, but it would be nice if Suzuki was able to incorporate a radial master cylinder like Yamaha does with this R7. That would go a long way in just elevating the braking experience. Again, it's fine for what it is, but then you ride other bikes like the R7 and you're like, oh man, I wish this thing had a radial master cylinder. It'd be also nice if you could disable rear ABS or adjust the ABS modes at all. Other bikes in the class allow you to do that. So it would be nice if Suzuki joined the party with that too. In terms of electronics, we have adjustable throttle response, SDMS. We are riding in the most aggressive throttle map, though the most aggressive throttle map isn't necessarily very aggressive. It's very easy to get a feel for this throttle, but if you were a new rider, you can simply go down to B mode or C mode, and that really neutralizes the throttle. If you were new to riding, we would recommend just putting it into C mode and getting a feel for things that way, and then you can graduate to B mode and then A mode. Of course, it's cool that you can make these adjustments on the fly while you're riding. We also like that you can adjust the traction control while you're riding. 3 levels, 1, 2, 3. 1 is the least amount of restriction, 3 is the most, and of course you can turn it off manually as well. This traction control is non-IMU powered, so it doesn't take into consideration vehicle yaw, pitch, or roll. So it's a little bit older in terms of its settings. I believe it relies on gear position, throttle opening, engine speed, and things of that nature to calculate the amount of ignition reduction it has. But just something to note. realistically, the 776cc parallel twin is so dang smooth, it's so friendly, that you really don't even need traction control. The engine itself is traction control. Really like this color TFT display. It's nice and clean looking. Fonts are crisp, easy to read. We have it set up in black background with white numbers, but you can reverse it if that's what you like, but we like running it this way. We also said in one of our earlier reviews that this bike is compatible with Suzuki's MySpin smartphone app, which it is not. MySpin doesn't work for this particular model, but you can view the maintenance intervals and that kind of stuff inside the menu at a stop. The switchgear is nice and chunky, easy to use with gloves, but we wish it was backlit. There are other bikes from Europe that are even smaller and cheaper that have backlit switchgear. Come on, Suzuki, we need backlit switchgear. Step up. Oh god, this bike is so fun to ride. Who knew you could be so comfortable on a sub 800cc parallel twin sport bike? This bike is crazy comfortable. You put a big windscreen on this thing and some saddlebags and maybe cruise control, and you would be off and running to places like Laguna Seca, no doubt. Well, everyone, this was a fun ride on Suzuki's GSX-8R. If you can't tell, I really like riding this bike. It's just peppy enough to keep me engaged. It has good engine character. The brakes work well. Suspension is taut enough for sport riding. It still soaks up all the bumps. It has a decent amount of bells and whistles. Yeah, the traction roll is a little bit older, but it's still cool that it has that. I like the switchgear, I like the fonts, and I like this color TFT display. Well, everyone, let's head back to the race shop, do some final thoughts, and wrap things up. Woo!
Well, everyone, if you couldn't tell, it was a hoot ride Suzuki's 2026 GSX-8R sport bike today. I really like this thing. It rides really well. It's super comfortable for a middleweight sport bike. The engine's got good torque. Yeah, it's not the fastest thing on the road, but it's got torque in all gears and it gets it done. I really like the ergonomics, very upright riding position, which is kind of crazy for a sport bike, but allows you to ride all day. That color TFT is nice to look at. Yeah, the electronics are a little bit more basic, but realistically, this bike is so refined and rides so well that even if it didn't have its adjustable throttle response or traction control, it really doesn't need it just because it's such an easy and friendly bike to ride. I really like the styling on this thing. It feels like a big bike. It looks like a big bike, but it's relatively easy to ride. Yeah, the curb weight's high, 452 pounds. There's no denying it. It's a heavy bike, but once you have this thing in motion, you know, that low slung exhaust and the way Suzuki really centralizes mass, it's a very accurate and agile handling bike. Well, everyone, that wraps up today's review. If you want to learn more, surf on over to moto-1.com. We're America's fastest growing motorcycle magazine, and sound it off in the comment section. Which bike do you want to test us to test next time? And we'll see you in the next episode of Out on the Road.
It's kinda hot in here. Vision too vivid, it can never be diminished. We only multiply, competition get division. It's all or it's nothing.